Good morning, everyone, and welcome to DEI Deathwatch, your bi-weekly digest of stories regarding the downfall and the doubling down on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Welcome to Monday. Hope everybody's doing well on this beautiful Monday afternoon. Welcome to my new time slot. It'll be 12:30 p.m. Pacific time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time on Mondays and Fridays going forward, unless something changes. Before we get into today's stories, plus our special segment, I've been playing this up. I got a special segment. Walter Tomaszewski, good morning, Scribe. I actually ate some Friskies cat food today and went catatonic. Oh my God. It gave my cats pause for alarm, but I'm all right. Meow. I want chicken. I want liver. Meow mix, please deliver. All right. Well, good morning, Walter Tomaszewski. The Alexandria, good morning. Kieverdam, I guess it's good afternoon now. I'm stuck on mornings. Kieverdam, good afternoon, and thank you, Kieverdam, for providing the link to the Give, Send, Go. Guys, at the top of the chat box is a link there. The Wireman family needs some help in support while their son Grayson is undergoing bone marrow transfer or surgery. I don't know exactly the terminology. I apologize. I'm not a doctor. I'm just an English major. Either way, in the course of that, they need some support with that. If you can click on that link and donate, that'd be great. Even if you can't donate, they would be helpful if you guys could share that out on social media. So thank you ahead of time for that. And thank you, Kieverdam, for providing the link. Attack Alpaca, good afternoon. Mike Savage, good afternoon. Josh Hammond, good afternoon. John Dryaxon, hello. Snortapoopas Cuber, good afternoon. Who else is here? Anybody else? Oh my gosh. I said hi to Attack Alpaca. I did. All right. Well, anybody that I missed, anybody lurking, anybody in the future, good afternoon. All right. We got a couple of stories and then a super duper special segment. Kendrick Lama, good afternoon. So let's get into our stories. First and foremost, you guys like baseball? I don't follow baseball much, but apparently baseball is a thing that people follow. Well, the Major League Baseball Association is evaluating diversity pipeline program, strikes DEI references from its website. In February, amidst an onslaught of executive orders from President Donald Trump aimed at eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred pledged to keep the league's values on diversity, quote unquote, unchanged. Oh boy, doubling down. But about a month later, the MLB Careers homepage is devoid of any reference to diversity. Details regarding the league's once lauded diversity pipeline program, which began as a means to combat the lack of diversity within MLB's front offices, seem to have been entirely wiped from the site too. I wonder what filters were in place in the diversity pipeline program that might be problematic now. Can't possibly imagine. Quote, as the commissioner stated, our values on diversity remain unchanged. We are in the process of evaluating our programs for any modifications to eligibility criteria that are needed to ensure our programs are compliant with federal law as they continue forward. Yeah, not mentioning anything about what you've been doing in the years previous to this. Just as we continue forward, we'll follow the law, federal law. Yeah. MLB added that Tyrone Brooks, who has led the program since its inception in 2016, remains in that post, and the pipeline program will continue. However, the link to apply for the program no longer appears on the program's landing page. Ruh-roh. What have you guys been doing for the last 8+ years? The changes to MLB's website were first reported by Craig Calcaterra. Manfred created the Diversity Pipeline program to increase the pool of minority and female candidates for baseball operations departments across all 30 clubs and the league office. Oh, so you had an internal systemic program within your corporation, your organization, to find employment for people on the basis of their race or gender. Yeah, there was a federal law. I think it's been around since 1964 that kind of made that a thing you're not supposed to do. Title VII, So you don't even have the out here. This is not a educational institution. This is not a university or a college or something. So they don't even have the quasi-philosophical out of claiming that it was some kind of, affirmative action process under education. So yeah, no, this is Title VII territory immediately and for the last 8 years. If only there was some, I don't know, commission or organization or government department that was in charge of investigating organizations who violated Title VII and brought down consequences thereof. It'd be nice. Maybe it'll happen now. Let's see. One Portnoy. Good afternoon. Manolo Rivera. Manolo Rivera. See, when I think of Manolo Rivera, I think of, you have a Scarface avatar. Well, there you go. See, that's why. Let's see. Jen McMahon. Good afternoon. FKHC 2005. Good afternoon. Latino Slant. Good afternoon. Toot Sweet. Hello. Williams. Fletcher Williams. I Suck at Games channel. Did your parents not like you when they named you? That's a crazy name. Hi, Fletcher. Unit 731. Good afternoon. And Bill S. Preston Esquire. Good afternoon. Yeah, so we're in the middle talking about Major League Baseball getting rid of its diversity program that it's been running for 8 years, probably. And I am diplomatic here. I'm not a lawyer. And just for safety's sake, it is possible that they may have been tempting fate with federal law for the last 8 years, specifically Title VII in their hiring practices. Anyway, the diversity pipeline program has resulted in over 400 assisted hires. However, the departures of Kim Ng, Farhan Zaidi, and Kenny Williams have left some within the game increasingly concerned about the lack of diversity in MLB front offices. Well, how would you solve for that problem? In October of 2023, America First Legal, the conservative nonprofit group led by Trump ally Stephen Miller, filed a federal civil rights complaint with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission against MLB for racially discriminatory programs. Well, good. Of course, that was the EEOC under Biden, so probably not much has or would have happened otherwise. But now under Trump, maybe it will. One of the 4 programs referenced in the complaint was the MLB's Diversity Pipeline program. Manfred told reporters at February's owners meeting in Palm Beach, Florida, quote, "Our values on diversity remain unchanged, but another value that is pretty important to us is we always try to comply with what the law is," unquote. Oh, yeah? Well, if you've been complying with what the law is this whole time, why are you walking back your diversity pipeline program? If there was never anything questionable legally about it, why are you doing it? Oh boy, the clock is ticking now that they've rolled it back. Let's see how long it takes. Let's hope no statute of limitations run out on these things. Quote, "There seems to be an evolution going on here. We're following that very carefully," he added. Quote, "When things get a little more settled, we'll examine each of our programs and make sure that, while the values remain the same, that we're also consistent with what the law requires," unquote. Unlike the last 8 years where we didn't care and nobody came after us for having potentially violated them. But anyway, by using the Internet Archive, which digitally preserves older versions of web pages, The Athletic tracked down when changes were made to MLB's website. Oh boy. As of Friday afternoon, the MLB Careers homepage contained no use of the word diversity. The tab on the far right of the MLB Careers homepage, which used to read diversity and inclusion, now only contains the latter. Oh, so just inclusion. All right. It was modified sometime between February 25th and March 4th. Well, let's just say March 4th for the sake of things. Okay, so mark your calendars, everybody. March 4th going forward, MLB no longer outwardly declares that it might be questionably violating or in violation of Title VII for the past 8 years. We'll see what things happen as things proceed. But that's basically the bulk of the story there. So yeah, Major League Baseball, we never changed our values and our commitment to diversity until somebody reminded us that we probably have been breaking the law in at least 400 cases, 400 assisted hires. That means that there's potentially 400 instances, well, actually more than that, because if you think about it, anybody who got the job because of the diversity pipeline program, imagine the 3 or 4 or 10 people for each of those jobs that was denied employment. How many civil rights lawsuits do you think could be floating out there somewhere in Major League Baseball? I don't know. I hope we'll find out someday. It'd be nice. Maybe under Trump's EEOC, we'll actually find out. Joe's Atmosphere. Good afternoon. JB, good afternoon. Who else is here? Anybody else? I think that's everybody. If I missed you, if you're lurking. Oh, there we go. Captain Fandom Nerd. Good afternoon. But let's move on to our second story. I'm keeping the story short today because I got a special segment. You're all going to want to see in a moment. Let's move on to something that kind of touches upon a story I looked over a couple of shows back, specifically about Paramount and Skydance's merger. But this affects all mergers right now. FCC chair threatens to block mergers of media companies engaged in DEI. The agency is already investigating Comcast and NBC Universal over their diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. The Federal Communications Commission is prepared to block mergers and acquisitions involving companies that continue promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, FCC Chairman Brendan Carr said Friday. President Donald Trump has ordered federal agencies such as the Justice Department to draw up lists of companies, nonprofits, and other organizations. Let me sim that down a little bit. Other organizations to target over, quote, illegal DEI efforts, unquote, which the administration has defined broadly. Well, you don't have to go to the administration for that. I know I'm a broken record. You just have to go back to the Civil Rights Act of 1964, specifically Title VII in this case, perhaps Title VI, if any of these organizations are accepting federal funding. Now, Carr is signaling that persisting with DEI could negatively affect media and communications companies' deal-making prospects. Quote, any businesses that are looking for FCC approval, I would encourage them to get busy ending any sort of their invidious forms of DEI discrimination, Carr said in an interview with Bloomberg News on Friday. He specifically cited Paramount's planned merger with Skydance Media and Verizon's deal to acquire Frontier Communications. I'm going to come back to Paramount here in a second. I'd hoped that we'd got to this on Midnight's Edge this morning, but we ran out of time. So I'm going to get back to Paramount in just a moment. In an emailed statement Friday, an FCC spokesperson reiterated Carr's stance using similar language. Guidance released this week by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. You know, I can't tell you, I can't tell you how happy I am to hear the EEOC mentioned in an authoritative manner more than once across several articles, because they have been utterly silent for the past 10 years on these subjects. So happy. The EEOC suggested that popular corporate practices such as recruiting and mentorship programs, employee resource groups, oh boy, ERGs, trainings and networking events that are not available to employees of all backgrounds will be deemed discriminatory. I cannot count how many organizations and associations I've looked at over the last 8 years that immediately fall into that category. Oh boy. This week, Carr met with Robbie Starbuck, a conservative activist who has pressured corporate giants such as Ford, Boeing, Walmart, and McDonald's to back away from diversity efforts to discuss, quote, ways that the FCC can use enforcement power to eliminate DEI from major telecom companies, unquote, Starbuck posted Thursday on X. Well, yay, Robbie Starbuck. And yay that the FCC is listening to him, because he's been a champion on this stuff. Quote, good luck with the FCC if you're a woke company. You're going to need it, unquote. Some media giants have already found themselves in the FCC's crosshairs. Last month, Carr said the agency would investigate Comcast and NBC Universal over their DEI policies. PBS, which is facing an FCC investigation and threats to its federal funding over other matters, closed its DEI office in February to comply with a Trump executive order. On Friday, a federal appeals court in Virginia lifted a preliminary injunction that had temporarily blocked the Trump administration from enforcing executive actions targeting DEI programs in the federal government and beyond. A 3-judge panel in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit ruled that enforcement may commence while litigation continues. Companies had already been moving away from DEI practices that center on race and identity, including representational workforce goals. Representational workforce goals. Oh boy, you know, before it was aspirational diversity goals. Now it's representational workforce goals. No, they're not quotas, guys. They're not potentially illegal quotas. No, They're just representational workforce goals. Representational workforce goals and fellowships for students from underrepresented groups, i.e., we're going to give opportunities to people on the basis of their race or ethnicity or gender. In the wake of the 2023 Supreme Court decision striking down affirmative action in college admissions. What could striking down affirmative action in college admissions possibly have to do with representational workforce goals and businesses and students from underrepresented groups? Oh, that's right. Title VI and the implications for Title VII, which were always there anyway, but suddenly became illegal in 2023 for some reason. That decision sparked dozens of lawsuits alleging that certain programs, including many in corporate America, violated federal civil rights laws. Again, the affirmative action programs in colleges and universities had nothing to do with private employers and violating Title VII. It was always legally questionable the entire time. The Supreme Court decision did not suddenly make hiring people on the basis of their race illegal. It was always illegal. But the floodgates opened because people were suddenly reminded, oh, wait, yeah, there are laws against that kind of thing. Anyway, I just wanted to harken back briefly to the story about Paramount, which I had the link for it. There it is. So if you'll recall, Paramount recently rolled back their DEI policies. But there was some very telling language in their memo that I just want to go over one more time for everybody's edification. Okay. So here we go. Co-CEO, this thing's going to scroll on me, isn't it? Among the changes, the company said, it, quote, now keep this in mind, quote, will no longer set or use aspirational numerical goals related to the race, ethnicity, sex, or gender of hires, unquote. No longer. Which means that for some period of time prior to this, and I'm going to be guessing at least 8 years, Paramount has used quotas in hiring based on race, ethnicity, sex, or gender, even though there's no difference between the two. And so they have implicated themselves as perhaps they're ending their programs now, but they've spent at least several years tempting fate with federal law that they should be investigated for. Whether or not their merger with Skydance goes through, they should still be looked at for stuff that they've been doing for the last several years. That's what I think. What do you think? Juliet, hello. Alan Thyler, hello. SWD40, good afternoon. Meh, good afternoon. Yeah, so that's the stories. Now for the special segment. I came across this the other day. It's brief for what it is, but I couldn't help but add it to this particular show because it doesn't quite fit with the other show, and it's right on point. So let's take a look at, if you'll indulge me, a TEDx. Yes, a TEDx. I know. It's a short one. It's only like 5 minutes long. Now, what is this TEDx about? Well, it's about DEI and how we can fix it. So would you like to know how we can fix DEI? Oh, sorry, the official title is Where DEI Falls Short and How to Rethink It. So for our closing segment, there's no bingo card. This is just for informational purposes and commentary. We're going to listen to a 5-minute long something TEDx on how to rethink DEI, because this is something we can fix, guys. Now, this was posted just yesterday or the day before, so it's very, very new. Let's listen and find out.
Okay.
Okay, everybody hear that? Let me know in the chat. I made this special overlay just for a DEI Deathwatch, like all the flames. Ooh, flames. Ooh, flames. I hope you like it. Let's see. We all know it's not about the length of the video. Yeah, size really doesn't matter when it comes to a TEDx. It really doesn't. 5x5 says toot sweet. Josh Hammond says yup. And Random American heard it like a farmer. Ayo. All right. Okay.
Let's do a little exercise.
Oh boy, jumping jacks?
Everybody stand up and line up in the middle of the room.
Maybe they are going to do jumping jacks.
Actually, no, just me.
Did I happen upon a comedy skit?
Okay. Step forward if you went to private school.
Oh no, is this the privilege walk? Oh my gosh, I haven't seen somebody do the privilege walk in a long time. Do you guys know what the privilege walk is? See, when I first heard that term way back in the day, I thought it was something like taking a class field trip to some ritzy part of town, suburb or neighborhood or whatever, and just walking through a bunch of like really well manicured homes. No. The privilege walk is where you line up a bunch of people and then you ask them a bunch of questions that implicate them in whether or not they've had a privileged life or a not privileged life. So like you line a bunch of kids up in a gymnasium at a high school or something and you say, step backward if your parents have ever divorced. And then step forward if you're white. Step backward if you have a disability. This little thing where you just kind of start parsing people out, doing kind of a progressive stack kind of thing. Is that what we're doing? Are we doing a privilege walk?
Step back if you got called a racial slur in elementary school.
Oh, we are. It's a privilege walk.
Step forward if your parents graduated from college. Step back if they didn't graduate high school. This is called a privilege walk.
God, something I haven't seen or heard about in 6 or 7 years, and I knew exactly what it was. Man, I can't tell you how happy that makes me. I feel smart. One of the rare times I can feel smart.
It's a popular DEI exercise taught to express the concept of privilege. The people in the front get some revelation about how many advantages they have, while the people in the back get to process their trauma.
Yeah, and this is problematic, isn't it? You're going to tell us this is not a productive way to conduct DEI practices because it actually diminishes people, embarrasses others, etc. That would be a reasonable thing to say if you're trying to fix DEI, right?
I hate privilege walks.
Oh!
Just like I hate black squares on Instagram, allyship pins, unconscious bias training, because it's performative.
Oh my gosh. If I was a more naive individual, I might think to myself, golly, I might be listening to a kindred spirit. Someone who thinks that DEI is a complete scam, except she's here to tell us how to rethink it. So how do we keep the contents the same, but just change the label?
The stuff doesn't work, but it's what sticks in our brains when we talk about DEI.
And there's some scattered applause. I think some people in the audience as well are being baited.
DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion, refers to the set of tools that organizations use to prevent discrimination, comply with civil rights laws, and create environments more welcoming to people from marginalized backgrounds.
Wait. Prevent discrimination and follow civil rights? Are you out of... Okay, you've got to be kidding me.
What the fuck are you talking about?
What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? Right?
Boy, talk about unfiltered gaslighting here. You have got to be... Let's listen to that one more time, just for the heck of it. Just for the heck of it. Hold on.
Set of tools that organizations use to prevent discrimination.
Prevent discrimination.
Comply with civil rights laws. And create environments more welcoming to people from marginalized backgrounds.
Sure.
I run Ready Set, one of the country's largest DEI firms, and I started it after working for a toxic organization for years.
A toxic organization? Oh boy, if I had the bingo card out, that'd be sales pitch for product or service. And she already said privilege. So if you have a bingo card at home you'd like to use, feel free. Circle them as we go. But this is just supposed to be more casual for this episode.
And I often talk about the academic reasons why I started Ready Set, but in reality, I started it because I was traumatized.
You started it because you were traumatized. You didn't start it to make a living?
And I didn't want anyone to go through what I had been through.
What had you been through?
Now we're in the middle of a DEI backlash.
Yes, it's been a long time coming. Far too long. And so, since you made a business centered around a thing that is now coming under decidedly negative scrutiny, how do you maintain your livelihood?
DEI has been blamed for everything from airplane failures to internet outages to you name it.
Rampant employment discrimination, in enhancing racial and gender divisions in the workplace and in society, valuing identity over merit, both in government and in medicine and in schools. You mean those kind of things?
And I often get approached by journalists wanting me to talk about it.
How often is often?
But I struggle because I'm conflicted.
Why? You've got a product to sell.
On the one hand, the discrimination that people like me face hasn't gone away.
You're correct. It is embodied within DEI. I doubt you'd want to admit to that, but it's absolutely true.
On the other hand, now it's up for the debate.
It was never really up for debate. It kind of got settled back in the 60s, but okay.
On the one hand, DEI has become a political football, but that doesn't mean it's immune from criticism.
You're correct on both fronts. So what concessions do you wish to make? Aside from the fact that you said that the bulk of DEI trainings and tools and everything were performative, sure, except for the actual outcomes of those trainings and things by elevating people on the basis of their race or denigrating other people on the basis of their race or their gender or whatever else, and then denying opportunities and promotion and hiring and C-suite jobs and so on to people on the basis of what they look like as well. I mean, aside from all that.
To me, there are two reasons for the backlash.
Okay.
The first of which is that backlash is just a natural consequence to progress.
DEI is not progress. It is regress. The fact that you see DEI as progress is probably a major part of the problem.
Reagan-era lawsuits were a response to civil rights laws. This is no different.
This is no different. Do tell.
On the other hand, people and organizations made real mistakes after the Me Too and George Floyd movements.
Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you something. DEI was going on before the Me Too and George Floyd movements, and they were doing the same things. But you're correct. A lot of things went wrong after Me Too and George Floyd, like, I don't know, witch hunts, overreach, taking advantage of a socio-political firestorm of nonsense and trying to profit off of it. But I mean, as a DEI consultant and running a DEI firm, you wouldn't have anything, you wouldn't have any knowledge of that or anything, would you? I mean, you obviously you saw the problems after the George Floyd death, and you didn't take advantage of the racial reckoning to get more clients or cash more paychecks. I'm sure you didn't do anything like that, did you?
DEI became performative. They used approaches based in emotion rather than data.
It was always both performative and effective. It was performative in playing out the virtue of each company, saying, oh, look at our ESG score. But it also had real world consequences. This didn't occur in a vacuum. People were denied work opportunities or elevated to positions they had not earned for the sake of DEI. People were discriminated against in the very same way that I would imagine you would rail against if it were happening to you because of your skin color, and rightfully so. And yet, somehow, I don't think you'd think that's a problem. since you make your money off of doing the very thing that you say is wrong.
They tried to solve systemic problems with individual solutions. They failed.
DEI is a systemic problem. If companies and organizations take on DEI policies and practices, it is a systemic problem. It is systemic discrimination. That's exactly what it is. What are you talking about?
And today the world is changing.
The world is changing.
It affects my team.
Yeah, I wonder why.
There's a woman on my team who zooms in from Florida with the breeze in her hair and a smile on her face until 2 weeks ago when she was evacuated.
Because of DEI backlash?
We have a contractor who has...
Whoa. What are you talking about? What does that have to do? Evacuated because of, like a hurricane? My brain is off where in La La Land right now. What? Explain that one.
Contractor who has the most adorable little pug ever who likes to snore on Zoom. And he really loves to share his hacks for working around the power cuts that he's experiencing because of the war in Ukraine.
Oh, I'm speechless. I'm speechless. My brain just simply cannot follow that train of logic from the backlash of DEI to someone in Florida who was evacuated and someone experiencing power issues in the war in Ukraine. What?
43% of Americans report being more anxious this year than last year.
Are you a psychologist now? What?
And over the same time period, we've seen an increase in workplace conflict, absenteeism, and disengagement.
Well, yeah, and Doge is firing most of those people. Uh-huh.
The outside is creeping in, and the models we have no longer work.
Okay, you're going to have to do some heavy lifting here to bring us back around to the point and what any of this has to do with DEI and backlash to it.
We don't do privilege walks at my job, but
anymore, right?
We did do an anti-Semitism training on October 7th.
You did an anti-Semitism training on October 7th? Wow, that's a scary coincidence. Why'd you pick that day? What, I mean, like the October 7th? Okay.
Because we couldn't work through that day like it was any other.
What?
The night before, I got news that my nephew was being deployed.
Okay. No shade to your nephew or anyone in the armed services, but I really have to ask, what does any of this have to do with your argument? What is your argument exactly? I mean, you're confessing that DEI gets it wrong. You made some implied concessions that things were done wrong for Me Too and George Floyd, though you wouldn't say what specifically. And then you start talking about bad outcomes, and it's someone was evacuated in Florida, someone had a power problem in the Ukraine, and people's anxieties are up because of reasons. Is DEI meant to solve for these problems?
We didn't all agree in that training, but what we did do was try to tackle misinformation, unpack our assumptions, and talk about how we treat each other with compassion and respect.
Okay, do tell us, what were your preconceived notions about Jewish people that you thus divested yourself from? Why are we... I didn't know what I was going to get going into this, but man, this feels like a full-blown TEDx talk.
That's what DEI could be.
What?
The next day, we did a training on anti-Arab racism and Islamophobia.
What? Just to balance the scales? What? Okay, sure. How did that go?
We have tools for elder care and climate emergencies.
Did you just take like random words and concepts and throw them at a wall and then have somebody write this script for you?
We have training for how to talk about politics at work, and it's not just for us. Our clients are asking for these things as well.
Oh, I got some advice on how to talk about politics at work. Don't. Hey, politics, religion, and your personal love lives. 3 topics. Just don't. Just don't. Here's how to talk about those things. Don't. If you think about going into that basement, don't. If you're thinking of talking politics in the workplace, don't. If you're thinking about telling your workmate about your love life, don't. It just don't.
And while I may feel conflicted about giving interviews, I'm not conflicted about what's next.
Giving to the reporters, the many reporters that come to you asking about DEI. Okay, what comes next?
There's something really exciting about doing something new. And new is what we need if we're going to tackle these problems that face us.
Okay, all right. So how are you envisioning the re-envisioning of DEI? You've got 1 minute and 2 seconds.
You know, I don't think we should be naive either. Discrimination still exists.
Yes, because DEI still exists. Oh, wait.
Culture wars are happening in the office today. And all of the problems I've just described, climate change, political instability, care responsibilities, affect people differently depending on the identities that they hold.
The longer that you believe that, the longer it's going to take to actually solve real problems. Identitarianism is poison. Just say it with me. Identitarianism is poison.
You know, the one thing I do love about privilege walks, I will say, is they always come with a surprise.
Supplies?
Like Chad from accounting will tell you he used to boost cars for fun and then he turned his life around. And you're reminded, you never know what people are carrying.
This has got to be one of the most discombobulated and that's me having watched hundreds of TEDx talks now. But in just under 6 minutes, we still got 30 seconds left. I don't know that there is a clear through line for any of this talk. And it's filled with absolute sawdust for the sausage. This is just, I'm practically speechless. I don't know where to go with this.
So I wonder, what would it look like if we did a privilege walk updated for today?
A privilege walk updated for today? Here, when you guys have an opportunity, go onto my channel, search the phrase walk of shame. And I think the privilege walk video I did should come up. It's one of my older videos. Absolutely nothing they ask in that privilege walk couldn't be applicable to, as far as I can recall, any era in particular. They asked about, were your parents divorced? Are you white? Did your parents go to college? Do you have a physical disability? On and on and on. Okay, but anyway, no, you're imagining what it would look like for today. Well, without even telling us what a privilege walk of yesteryear looked like, what would you say?
Step back if you're struggling with chronic illness.
Because obviously chronic illness didn't exist until today.
Step back if you're juggling elder care and child care.
Because juggling elder care and child care did not exist until today.
Step back if your life has been disrupted by a once in a 200-year weather event.
Kiever Dan, thank you so much. Is this woman quite as bad as Chromosome Lady? You know, I still think Chromosome Lady is worse because everything that she said in the course of her presentation, she played off like it was actually saying something or proving something, right? And it was still within the boundaries of the subject matter, but she would lay it out like it was some great revelation to reality, science, or just the understanding of how chromosomes work. if she was sort of like actively gaslighting herself at the same time she was gaslighting the audience. And she was very enthusiastic about it. This lady, I mean, obviously I can't read her mind, even though I am psychic. She's trying to fill in the gaps of a lack of an argument with a whole bunch of heartstring tugging other topics that are completely unrelated. So there's no through line there. Chromosome Lady had the artistry of being really excited about something and saying a bunch of things that applied to what she was talking about, even though they were consistently nonsensical, but they were still kind of on point. Maybe that's the difference. Anyway.
Step back if you've been asked to work through it. Thank you.
Okay, well, did we learn how to rethink DEI, guys? No. And here's the thing, and I didn't know this before I watched it. Like I said, I hadn't watched this ahead of time. This lady has been a professional. She's been doing this for years. This is her business. Now, for those of you who have been in a job or worked in any particular industry for, let's just say, a year or more, right? Think about the product that your company makes, or even some aspect of your company's output that you don't have a direct hand in. Like, for example, I work in data management, right? I'm not a salesman, but I've been around long enough that I know what our product is. I have a fairly, general understanding of how it works and what it can do for our clients. So if I was in an elevator and somebody asked me what my company does, I could, at this point, just through pure osmosis, give a decent sales pitch for my company, our products, and our services, even though I'm not a sales guy. Just because, you pick things up, you want to have an understanding over time, having done something over and over again and been involved with people in your company and your business over and over again for years. This lady does this professionally. She is a professional DEI consultant. She was given 5 minutes, unheeded, on a stage, or uninterrupted, I should say, to give her best pitch as to how to reimagine DEI. What did we get? Balderdash. Unrelated, just divergent balderdash. And this is a professional. So if a professional DEI consultant who started this business to deal with the trauma of her own experiences and so on and so forth, if she's being confronted with DEI backlash, people just saying, maybe this doesn't make sense, and or maybe this isn't legal, and or maybe we should divest ourselves from this nonsense. And her best defense is, think about climate change. Think about the power grid in the Ukraine. I'll take her word for it. That's the best that she's got. That's the best that she has. So if that's so, then thankfully, I think we have it shown to us, DEI doesn't have a prayer. But of course, I've been saying that for years now, and we've only just begun with the Trump administration purportedly cracking down on this. Like I say, I'll be much happier when I finally see some consequences befall a bad actor, whether it's a university or a college or a business or a nonprofit or somebody finally being held to account for the things they've been doing this last decade or so, like Paramount, like Major League Baseball, like Citigroup, like Netflix, like Amazon, like Facebook, like Google. Somebody has got to face some consequences, somebody meaningful. An example needs to be made, and soon. We've got 4 years, or a little less than 4 years now left, to see if Donald Trump will do something about it. But like I say, I have hope with seeing the EEOC mentioned in such an authoritative way in so many articles recently. Read by nature, soothsayer for the middle management midwits. Say that 7 times fast. Also, Morgan King, good afternoon. Let's see. SWD40. Guys, DEI is so performative, continues to be exactly. Very good. Yes, WD40. That was much more concise than I could have put it. Yeah, she stands on a stage, says a bunch of things that say nothing, do nothing, but it sounds like she's trying to say something, but she never does. Also, Walter A. This is an example of what DEI gets us. Now, I only know a few Walters in life. Does Walter A. and Walter Tomaszewski, are they in the same room together at any particular time, or are they the same Walter? Stevie D, I'm thinking that DEI is race communism. It's social Marxism. It's just categorizing people and the value of them. It's not based on class. It's based on identity, right? It's just you are better or worse based on your race, your gender. It's the progressive stack. It's the privilege walk. Everything she described, it's right there. It's identity politics. It is largely racial identitarianism and oftentimes gender identitarianism. And I'll tell you what, identitarianism is poison, no matter how you decide to leverage it. But anyway, Walter A., are we the same? No, I'm Walter T. Walter T., Walter A. Congratulations. You are Walters together. But anyway, guys, that was the show. Just wanted to do the couple articles and the special segment. That was a mini TEDx. If you're not familiar with TEDx, well, let me tell you something. I have a regular series on my channel on Thursday nights called TED Excellence, where I take a look at full-fledged TEDx talks with TEDx bingo and a whole bunch of conversation and analysis thereof of different topics and all types of crazy stuff. Like, what am I considering looking at this week? Well, let me read you some of the titles. I can't promise that it'll be one of these, but this is what I'm looking at. How to actually fix the U.S. economy. Or, can dogs agree to participate in research? Or, why love is the missing piece in education. Or, the hidden cost of cocoa. Can AI save it? And perhaps lastly, how to divorce as allies, not enemies. I don't know, guys. Could be one of those. Could be something else. We'll see what TEDx posts in the next 72 hours or so. And we'll find out on Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for TED Excellence on this channel. Mark it on your calendars, all that good stuff. Also, anybody who migrated over from Latino Slant, hello. Hope you enjoyed the show. And thank you to Polly for sending people over after the fact. We're attempting to make a block now, a block of programming on Mondays between the 6-minute news over on Culture Casino, and then Midnight's Edge in the morning, and then Latino Slant, and then myself, and I over here. Let's see. The thing I wanted to do is not what it was doing there. I wanted to send you guys a link to the Discord server, but the link failed on me, so let me try that again. We want that, we want that, we want that, and there we go. A link to the Discord server is in the chat right now. If you'd like to join the Discord server, just click on that link. You'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word will tell me that you're not a bot. Actually watch the stream and have thus earned the right, the privilege, the entitlement to join the Discord server. And today's secret word is EEOC. Just say hello, EEOC, and I'll know that you watched the show. Outside of that, again, Thursday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for TED Excellence. And also you can find me Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, unless something schedule-wise conflicts, on Midnight's Edge in the morning at 9:05 a.m. Pacific, 12:05 p.m. Eastern Time to talk about movies and box office and all types of stuff. Let's see, anything else? Oh, yeah, on the way out, if you would, leave a like. I'd appreciate that. Or a subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And share this stuff out on social media. Appreciate that as well. And when you do, especially on X, if you tag me in it, I'll know that you did so, and I can thank you personally because I do thank you when you share my stuff. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved. You have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or to the Give, Send, Go at the top of the chat box for Grayson's bone marrow treatment. Guys, thank you so much for your generosity. Very much appreciated. Elsewise, everyone, hope you have a good rest of your Monday. Hope you have a good week ahead of you. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.